evolutionary theory.
And John Spencer from Cornell developed a gene gun method that didn't make any deep contributions.
They invented a technology, an applied technology.
That did a lot of good, didn't it?
I'm not denying that creationists can't do good. That there are many creationists all over this place who have good, productive lives.
With their science.
And I would deny that. If you are rejecting a key component of biology, you cannot make a contribution to biology. That you're standing in the way. Okay, other questions?
There.
Somebody.
It seems like a lot of this discussion is bogged down with simple stuff. We explain the protein pathways, and most of it comes down to simple arguments like what good is halfway. And the one I get all the time is why is it still a theory? To which I respond, you can't write down a mathematical pattern that says this is what happens, but people don't seem to be okay with that. So what do you say when you brought up why is it called a theory and not the law of evolution?
Well, it's a good example of the ignorance of creationists. Okay, if they're saying that, they do not understand what theory means. And the colloquial usage of the first theory means like just a guess. In scientific terminology, it means something radically different. Theory is a body of explanations that have been well supported by the evidence, have been tested over and over again, and then provide a good integrated framework for generating new questions and new answers. A theory is quite a bit more useful than a fact or a law. There is also no hierarchy here. Theories do not become laws, or vice versa. They're very different things. So, when we say it's a theory, what we are doing is we are heaping high praise on it. We're saying that this is a really useful tool. It's a good strategy for guiding further research, and it explains a great many phenomena in nature. Yes?
I want to go back to one of those depressing slides you showed earlier. Why do you think it is that the United States does so incredibly poorly when it comes to understanding the science of biology, the synthetic theory of evolution? What is it about this nation that puts us educationally so far behind all these other countries?
Religion.
Well,
just
straight down, okay.
Yeah, that's the point right there. That it's a peculiar thing about our country that when you analyze objectively various facets of our culture, when you look at things like infant mortality rate, when you look at frequency of people going to church, when you look at support for education, when you look at all these other phenomena, and you compare it to other nations, what you discover is the United States is a third world nation. That as far as social behaviors go, we're pretty primitive. It's kind of embarrassing, actually, that we're so primitive. Of course, when you look at things like technology and higher ed, we're up there, top of the top. And the reason I think that this has been happening is that we have too many people that are indoctrinated into some rather foolish religious beliefs. And we're not talking sophisticated religious beliefs either. We're talking about batshit insane religious beliefs, like the creation movement.
I have a follow-up then.
Yeah.
Okay, since I tend to agree with you, but why do you think then that the United States is so incredibly religious? Other advanced nations have managed to ditch gods and goddesses and etc. Why do we cling to them?
I think there's a couple of reasons. Have you read Susan Jacobin's book, Freethinkers?
No.
Oh, I recommend it to everybody. This book, it's called Freethinkers by Susan Jacobin, and it's a history of free thought in America. And basically what we have is an example of contingency. That our country was founded by this widely divergent group of people. We had the Deists, who were the founding fathers. We had, the Puritans. We had all these complicated religions, and we set up these religions so that they can be practiced freely. And I think basically what has happened is that we have allowed natural selection to occur. And then what has happened is we have bred for very successful religions in this country. And successful religion is not synonymous with truth. So we've had this vast growth of religion that goes on. capitalist. And what that means is that we have ended up with a bigger rich-poor divide. So what has happened in this country is that we have a vast number of people who receive extremely poor education, who get their ideas from people like their ministers, who have equally poor educations, who don't know a thing about science, they're telling them about science. And then we've got the wealthy upper class that gets things like good educations and builds great colleges and can produce great science. But it means that difference is the problem. If you look at countries like Sweden and Norway and Denmark, which are much more progressive and have less influence of religion, what you also find is that the gap is much narrower. That the rich are rich, sure, but they're not as greatly richer than their compatriots as we would find in this country. So more egalitarian economic systems, I think, would promote the weakening of religion, which unfortunately is one reason why I think the Republicans are really behind religion. Is they don't want egalitarian systems. You're not just all Republicans yet. Okay. Oh, my blog is called Perennial, which nobody can spell.
What does that mean?
Well, first of all, I'll tell you how to find it. It turns out if you go to Google and just type PZ, I'm the first one. So that's easy. But a perennial is a stage in development. That we have heard of blastula, gastrula, murula, all of them. If you're developing a fast system, okay. Perennial just happens to be a really interesting stage in development where the organism is first forming organs and forming these branchial structures of pharynx. That's where it takes its name from. It's just a stage I'm most interested in my own research. More questions? Yes?
Well, obviously the argument that it's just a theory has already been brought up. And that stems, I guess, from a majority of people not being educated in like science.
Right.
And I believe Dawkins has even suggested changing the word. Obviously, that would be, scientific. So what solution to that problem?
Yeah, well, there's been a big effort to educate people about this. Ken Miller wrote a whole book called Only a Theory, which explains this in some depth. Yeah, Dawkins suggested a new word for I don't think I can do that. But yeah, we educate people. The other thing I think is really useful is when people bring up just a theory argument, just dump over and roll over on the floor laughing. I mean, it's a really useful indicator that you're dealing with a moron when they bring this stuff up. Or rather, that you're dealing with somebody who has never educated himself on this particular controversy that he is now pontificating on. So it's a useful marker. That's one way to think of it. Other questions? Lead in back. Where what? So you're asking, for instance, chemical evolution, abiogenesis, all that kind of stuff? Yeah, there's a number of good books about this particular subject. We know that you can form fairly complicated organic compounds with completely unintelligent random processes. That there are various ways that chemicals will formulate into compounds that are building blocks of biological life. They have been spotted even in gas clouds in space. There's clouds of formaldehyde floating around outer space, which is just kind of amazing. But in the ancient Earth, these complex compounds were formed, and there would have also been selection going on. There would have been chemical selection for reactions that would promote themselves. Where did the chemicals come from? We know that most of the chemicals on life, on Earth, all the rocks, carbon, all that kind of stuff, anything more sophisticated than hydrogen, came out of exploding stars. Where did the stars come from? They came from condensations of hydrogen. And the hydrogen